Hi everyone, good evening. And today we are going to talk about the application process for All India Law Entrance Test, which is the entrance for admissions to National Law University, Delhi. I'm sure you would have already gone through the video on the channel about the change which NLU Delhi has announced as far as the exam is concerned. So we all know there is a change in the exam pattern. So I'll take a little bit of time still over here to talk about that, and then we'll go ahead with the form filling process. Okay, so let's go ahead and understand what exactly this change is all about. Now, we all know when we look at AILET, that's about 5 sections, but they have reduced that to 3 sections. And if you look at that way, what is happening right now, the number of questions remains same, 150, but the number of sections have been changed to 3. So the first section is English language, which is about 50 questions. The second section is general knowledge, including current affairs, which is 30 questions. But instead of 3 other sections, now you have a section C, which is logical reasoning, about 70 questions. This clearly means, first of all, before you make any assumptions, mathematics has been removed from the paper. I'm sure most of you are a happy lot now with that. But many of you are believing that probably legal has also been done away with. No. If you read the change carefully, you'll realize legal reasoning may still be part of the logical reasoning. Legal reasoning will be there to test your understanding of that subject. So it is still going to be there. Don't worry about that. Whether a sample paper will come or not, that is yet to be seen. I I don't expect that to be happening out there. But I think what is happening over here, the type of questions which was there even in earlier IELTS, that's something which is not going to change. But yes, one of the significant changes is legal gets merged with logical, and quant has been removed. No change in the marking scheme. The exam is scheduled on 1st of May as expected in the first half, morning 10 o'clock to 11:30 o'clock, and the marking scheme remains the same. However, this change definitely warranted a change in the tiebreaker system, which I'm sure you have gone through the video and you know about that. So now instead of legal reasoning, it would be logical reasoning, the section which will be used in case of a tiebreaker or in case of a tie among the students. The scores in the logical reasoning section will be first looked into to break that tie. What about the seats? That also do not change, but you need to understand how the seats are structured. So if you look at each of the categories, I'm talking about the Indian nationals over here. If you look at each of the categories, general will have 50 seats, out of which 3 seats goes into horizontal reservation for people with disability, which means the category intake is 47, excluding the horizontal reservation. Similarly, in case of non-creamy layer of OBC, you need to understand you have to be under non-creamy layer if you want to avail the benefit of the reservation. There are a total of 24 seats in the category, out of which one will be as part of the horizontal reservation and goes to PWD category, leaving around 23 seats in this category. For the scheduled caste, there are a total of 7 seats. One goes for PWD and a total of 16 within the category remains. In the ST category, a total of 8 seats are there. No horizontal reservation for PWD, which means a total of 8 here in the category. And for economically weaker section, 11 seats will be there, out of which one will be horizontally reserved for students from PWD category and 10 will be out of that. So a total of 110 seats, if we talk about the Indian nationals, out of which 6 of them go into horizontal reservation, which is around 5%. And for the PWD category, remaining 104 remains within the categories itself. Very important to note, there is also a provision for 30% horizontal reservation for female candidates in each of the categories, which means to all the female candidates, that's a wonderful news to each one of you, because not only you can be there in these intakes, but out of this, 30% will be carved out specially for you, which means If you talk about this 50 seats, the remaining 47, some 15 seats will be anyways available separately to you, and definitely out of the other 32, you are definitely going to be part of it. So these two specific reservation in terms of horizontal, if we talk about, apart from this 110 seats, there are 23 supernumerary seats. Now, what does supernumerary seats means? Over and above the intake. So for each of these categories, if you talk about Kashmiri migrant, there is one seat reserved, resident of JNK, two seats, foreign national, five seats. And if a student is a OCI or a PIO, overseas citizen or person of Indian origin, but holds a passport of the other country, there are five seats for them as well. Now, what happens in this case? And a student who is within this category, OCI and PIO, they can apply either as a foreign national or they can apply as an Indian national. If they choose to apply as an Indian national, they will have to appear for AILET 2022. If they if they apply through foreign national category, while the application has to be submitted, but their process of selection will be different, and there would be specific eligibility requirements as well. But these supernumerary seats जो होते हैं, ये intake के ऊपर होते हैं. So these are specific to certain category of students. If they fulfill the criteria, they can be part of these supernumerary seats. They will be selected through this. Now, coming to the application form for 2022. Now, there are few things which you need to have with you before you even go and start the application form. First of all, definitely you need to have a mobile number which you are going to use at least till the admissions get over. Along with that, there is a requirement for photograph. A color photograph has to be there against white background. Please be specific. Understand this carefully. Color photograph against white background, and your face should cover 75% of the photograph. And the size of the scan copy should not be greater than 1 MB. It should be equal or less than 1 MB. The three formats allowed are mentioned on the website as well: JPEG, JPG, and PNG. You also need to keep two identical photographs in reserve, which means आप जो photograph ले रहे हो, आप जो photograph use करने वाले हो, उसके दो copies print करा करके reserve में आप अपने पास रखेंगे. They will be required during the admit card. So when the admit card is released, you have to paste the same photograph over there. That's a clear-cut instructions given out there, my friend. So you have to keep two prints of that photograph which you are uploading along with yourself in reserve till the time the process gets over. So one will be required to be pasted on the admit card, and the other would be required at the time of counseling or admissions. Similarly, you need to upload a scanned copy of your signature. So how you can do that? You can create a box on a white sheet of paper, which the box would be around 6 centimeter in width and 3 centimeter in height. And here you have to put your signature in either a blue pen or a ballpoint pen. Preferably, you should do it on a black through a black ballpoint pen, because the clarity will be much better as compared to a blue one. And then you scan that signature and upload over here. The format allowed remains the same: JPG, and 1 MB is the requirement. Maximum of 1 MB is permitted. In case you belong to the below poverty line category, which will be one of the questions in the application form, if you mark a yes over there, you are also required to upload this certificate. So in case you have the BPL certificate and you belong to that category, at the time of application itself, you have to upload that certificate. For rest, no certificates or documents have to be uploaded as of now. All documents will be required to be presented at the time of counseling and admission, somewhere around May end, not before that. At the time of admission, what are the documents required? Your mark sheet of class 10th and 12th, latest character certificate, and the transfer certificate from the school and the respective board. And if you are claiming reservation under any of the reserve category, being a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe or NCOBC, EWS, person with disability, Kashmiri migrant, resident of JNK, whichever is applicable in your case, if you're claiming reservation benefit for that, those documents would be required at the time of admissions. So please keep them handy. And for those also, there are certain important aspects you need to remember. For example, in when it comes to reservation documents for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe category student, please understand these are the authorities from where your certificate must have been approved or made actually. So talking about the district magistrate or a revenue officer or an administration in case of Lakshadweep and Minicoy Islands. But you need to understand not every certificate, if you have got, it has to be from a competent authority. Similarly, for OBC, NC, other backward classes, non-creamy layer, you need to understand the non-creamy layer certificate should be issued on or after 1st January 2022, which means if you already have a certificate, that will not work. And this will be either a central NCOBC certificate or the Delhi state NCOBC certificate. Both will work, but please ensure that the certificate is issued after 1st January, which means you have to get one made fresh actually. आपको एक नया certificate बनवाना होगा. If you have any certificate available right now, that will not work over here. Similarly, the list of the competent authorities are given over here. You have to ensure that you get your certificate from these authorities only. In case of economically weaker section category, there is a similar provision. Your certificate should have been issued on or after 1st January 2022, which means you will have to get a fresh certificate made in case you are claiming reservation under the economically weaker section actually. So for these two category, OBC, NC, and for economically weaker section society students, your certificates has to be recent, made on or after 1st of January. Please ensure that get one made if you're claiming that reservation in the application form, because they will not accept any certificate which has been issued prior to 1st of January 2020. Now, how do you go and fill the application form? The first thing, if you go on the home page, which is the application form is not available on the nludelhi.ac.in website. Rather, it is available on National Law University Delhi website. So it is National Law University National Law University Delhi.in. Please understand this is where the application process will be there, and you have to fill in the application from this URL. Once you open that page, the first thing you need to do is register yourself for AILET 2022, which means you have to click on the register button, and then your process of application starts. So first you'll be required to fill your name, your mobile, and your email, and then you click on the register button. These three things are required over here. Once you do that, you will be you will get a message from them which will have the password, a 6-digit password, and through that you come back to the login. The system will automatically direct you, आपको वापस वो login page पर लेकर आएगा, where you fill your registered mobile number and you put that password over here to log in. But the moment you log in, it will take you for a forced password change, which means you have to now create your own password. You have to create a password, confirm that password, and once you click on the change password, it will take you back again for login actually. So twice or thrice you have to log in before you even start filling the particulars in the application form. The application form is not quite complicated. It is quite simple actually. But then initially when you register yourself, you have to log in twice because there will be a forced password change provision over here. Now, again, you log in using your registered mobile number and the password now, which you have created. You have to use that password, and now you have to remember that as well. Please don't forget, because you are filling so many forms. Chances are high that if you don't have a similar password for each of the form, हो सकता है आप भूल जाओगे उसको. So please try to avoid that. You may want to keep it somewhere. You take a note of it in a diary, in a notebook, which you are not going to lose. Please keep it written over there. So for in future reference, because this is the place where all the action will happen. Your admit card will come over here. Your counseling process will happen over here. So this is going to be there till the admission process gets over. This is the platform where all the action will happen till almost June. So remember that password. Now, once you have logged in, then you have to select the program. In your case, I'm talking about students who are looking forward to the 5-year integrated BLLB program. You have to first check this box, which is BLLB honors, and click on apply, and then your application page opens up. It's a one single page, unlike CLAT where you have different pages out there. It's a one single page. You have to scroll down and keep on filling the information. So the very first particular which you have to fill in is your name. Now, what that name has to be, in what way it should be as per your 10+2 certificate. Now, obviously, you do not have a certificate because all of you would be writing the board examination. But अगर आप CBSE ICSE से हो तो you have already given your term 1 board examination. आपने जिस तरीके से आपका नाम वहां पे एडमिट कार्ड पे डिस्प्ले हुआ है आप उस तरीके से लिखेंगे. Otherwise, how it is going to be, which you know as far as your class 12th is concerned, the board examinations, how your name will appear in the admit card of the board examination, that is how you will fill it over here. In fact, in almost every state, what you have in your class 10, that remains similar for class 12, except for a couple of them. Then you have to give your date of birth. So from the drop down, you select it appropriately. You select the gender over here. And then your mobile number will come pre-filled through the registration. Your email ID will come pre-filled through the registration. And then you have to select the category. Now, what happens when you are selecting the category? These are the choices you will have. You can select either depending on which category you belong to. So it could be either general, it could be OBC NC, it could be SC, it could be ST, or a foreign national. Okay. Now, what will happen if you are a general category student? The moment you select general, this will add another question to your form asking you, do you belong to the EWS category? So the moment you select general as your category, it will ask you this question, whether you belong to the EWS category. You have to select yes or no appropriately. Nationality, Indian, foreign, you select it appropriately. Religion, you have to type in over here. And do you belong to PWD category? Accordingly, you will select yes or no, whatever is applicable in your case over here. Remember, it has to be 40% and above disability to be eligible to claim reservation under PWD category. And you will be even asked whether you belong to the Kashmiri migrant category or are you a resident of Jammu and Kashmir. So are you claiming reservation within this category as well? But if you have selected, let's say SC and ST under this category, instead of EWS, the question here will ask you, do you belong to BPL category? So in case of students who belong to the reserve category, SC and ST, instead of EWS, your question will change. Do you belong to the BPL category? Accordingly, as per if you belong to that category, अगर आपके पास certificate है, तो आप yes select करेंगे. If you not belong to category, definitely आप no select करेंगे. But if you select yes over here, claiming that BPL category aspect over here, you will also be required to upload this certificate. At the end, you will be required to upload this certificate. So far, not so difficult actually. That was about your personal details. Then you have to select 3 test centers. You will select choice 1, choice 2, and choice 3. Be careful because as of now, we do not have the dates of symbiosis. SLAT, we do not have the dates as of now. And in normal years, what happens? SLAT is exactly a day before AILET. You need to remember this. SLAT is exactly a day before AILET. So in case the city where you reside is not a center, please select in such a way that you do not have to travel too much actually, because hopefully if your SLAT center is not an AILET center, then it would become very difficult. So little bit careful. You can wait for some time even actually, but then you also need to understand SLAT forms generally come out in the month of February. So if that happens, probably you will go ahead and fill the application form for AILET, but you be careful as far as the 3 choices of the centers are concerned. You can select them from the drop down. Then you have to give in your contact details, your address, so all this has to be typed in except for the state where you have to select the state from the drop down. Otherwise, everything including pin code, district, city where you live in, all has to be typed in actually. So that's a simple exercise. I'm sure that's not a problem for each one. Next comes family details. Now you have to type in and key in your family details. So the questions are, you have to give your father's name, occupation, whether serving or retired, mobile number, and all of this is mandatory. Please understand, all of this is mandatory. So please be careful. Father's annual income, in case your father is working, father's email ID as well as office address has to be typed over here. Same with in the case of your mother's. So you have to give in the particulars, details about your mother, whether she is a housewife, she is working, she is retired. As the case may be, you will type over here, give the mobile number, office address, email address, and from the drop down, you will select the range of the annual income. It could be nil or it could be from any of the ranges which has been given over there as far as the drop down is concerned. I think so far, simple, no issues. In fact, this form is very simple. You don't need to worry about. Now, this is where I'm sure you will have questions. Now, when it comes to academic details, you type your name of the school over here, you type the name of the board, obviously CBSC, ICSC, or the name of your state board, and from the drop down you select the year of passing. Now till 2021 the years will be there, and for 2022 instead of the year you will have to select appearing, which means unless you are a retaker, unless you have dropped to appear for the exam once again, or maybe you didn't give it last year, but you completed your class 12th in 2021, but now you are appearing for the examination. In that case, depending on what your year of passing is, class 12, class 10th and 12th, you'll have to be careful. So the first one is about class 10. First one is about class 10. So you select the years. But when it comes to class 12th over here, you have the choice for appearing, which means all the students who are writing the board in 2022, February, March, April, you will select appearing. What will happen in that case? The moment you select appearing, these so-called important questions or mandatory ones, maximum marks, maximum or the marks obtained and percentages, they got they will be hidden actually. So they will not be mandatory. You don't need to fill anything over there except for the stream which you select from the drop down, whether you are in commerce, humanities, or sciences. So also, in case your boards give the marks in terms of CGPA and not percentage, what happens in that case? So if you select CGPA because that's how your board awards marks or the certificates, then these two mandatory questions will not be there. They will be hidden, and you will have to only type your CGPA, the final CGPA over here against percentage of marks slash CGPA for both 10th as well as 12th. So here also you'll select from the drop down CGPA percentage. In case your board awards percentage, like in the case of almost most of the boards, what will happen over here? You'll have to give the maximum marks, the aggregate maximum marks. Then you put in your aggregate score and you calculate the percent and type over here. So let's say your percentage is 75% or 85%, you write 75.00 as the case may be. So this is where. So if you are an appearing board appearing student in 2022, this 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 will be not required as far as class 12th is concerned. But the moment you have filled in 2021 or 2020, when it comes to class 12th, these are mandatory fields. So you have to fill in maximum marks, your marks obtained, and your CGPA as well, or the percentage as the case may be. And the final part of the application process is to upload your photograph, your signature, except for the students who have selected yes when the question was about do you belong to BPL category. So that will appear in case of students who belong to these two categories, SC and ST. The moment you select from the drop down, then you will have this question appearing, and if you select yes, you are also required to upload the certificate, the size of which that should not be more than 2 MB. And finally, you check on this box, which is a declaration saying that I know whatever information I'm furnishing over here is true to the best of my knowledge and is correct in all respect. Okay, so that's a declaration. Similarly, what happens over here? So now you can either save the form for the time being, or you can go and click on the submit form. Now, the moment you submit form, what will happen? You will have two options. One is to make payment. The other one is to delete the application. The moment you proceed and make payment, your application will be submitted and will be considered final. But if you believe that probably I may have done some mistake and I want to refill the form, what you need to do is you need to click on delete application and you have to start again afresh. Which means आपको दोबारा से using the same registration credentials आपको form दोबारा भरना पड़ेगा after deleting this application. But the moment you have made that payment, remember, the moment you have made that payment, it will be considered as final. So be careful while filling the form. Be understand the fact that these forms are costly. आप बिल्कुल ध्यान से एक एक aspect को check करते हुए आगे बढ़िए. Once, and better to save draft and have a relook at it once, twice, and then only go ahead and submit the application form and make the payments. That's how you are going to fill the AILET 2022 application form. Not very difficult, unlike CLAT. I think this is one of the most simplest forms you will come across. So not very difficult at all, actually. So in that sense, now few things to understand. Some of the forms MHCET SLAT are not out yet, but the moment they'll be out yet, we'll be definitely doing form filling sessions for them. SLAT is somewhat little complicated given the number of campuses and the number of programs they offer. So whenever it will appear, we'll definitely do that actually. So it's question time over here. Let me look at it regarding the form actually. If we need the non-creamy layer certificate, which was issued after 1st January or the main OBC certificate, you need to understand, to claim the reservation, you must belong to non-creamy layer. Otherwise, you won't be able to claim the reservation. When it comes to OBC category, it has to be non-creamy layer. Only they have the benefit of reservation. Please understand this. And the certificate has to be issued on or after 1st of January. So, आपके पास अगर कोई पुराना certificate है, that is not valid. Domicile for AILET? No. There is no reservation for students belonging to Delhi when it comes to National Law University, Delhi. So there is no domicile at all. Please understand this. There is no domicile at all. So you are treated like any other student. You will be considered as all India category for each of all India student for each of the categories. There's no domicile provision out here. The last date to apply is 7th of April. The last date to apply is 7th of April. So you have enough time. Please understand this. You have enough time. Don't worry. And that is why I'm saying you have to be a little bit careful because these forms are costly. The time is there. Take your own sweet time to fill the application forms, whether it is CLAT, whether it is AILET. Okay. What should we write in maximum marks category of class 10th? What you secured. So maximum marks, when people talk about maximum marks, it is the maximum marks including all the papers. So if say your class 10th board was about 5 papers and each of the papers were about 100 marks, which means maximum marks becomes 500. Then what total you scored is the marks obtained, and then you finally calculate the percentage dividing the two actually. So that's very, very important. Photograph, I think that's important from because the scan copy, you will have to get the print of the admit card, and photograph should come out very clear on that. And that is why the instruction is very clear. Please understand, follow the instructions which is given over there. Follow the instructions. They have given all the instruction very clearly. Don't look out for shortcuts. So it has to be a color photograph against a white background. Please understand this. You can take it through your mobile, a good quality mobile phone. All of us have these days. All the cameras are good in the mobiles these days. So you can use that, or you can get a photograph in the nearest shop actually. So please understand that. Okay. So in case the query is related, some of the students, I stay in a particular place and the nearest center is Mumbai. Of course, if Thane is not a center, you'll first select Mumbai. Now you can't, they are not going to give you the centers right now. So which particular center you are going to take up the examination, that you will come to know in the admit card. So they must have some 20-25 centers across Mumbai. Of course, it will depend on luck which of the centers you are allotted. So you might be required to travel far. So for example, in case of Mumbai, you are in Thane, you are on the central line, you might be traveling to the western line or maybe even Navi Mumbai, which might be easier actually. AILET is an offline paper, my dear friend. It's a pen paper based paper. unless COVID changes, unless the wave continues and something happens and they decide to go online, that would be a different story. But that's an offline paper. It has always been offline except for 1 year. Even last year it was an offline paper, and this year also it's an offline paper. Please understand this. What are we supposed to fill for the 12th marks part? As I said, you will select appearing. The moment you select appearing, because you are appearing for the board examination in the coming months. So for you, there is nothing mentioned over there as 2022. You'll see, once you see the drop down, वहां पे आपको 2022 नहीं दिखेगा. You won't see 2022 for class 12. So you will be selecting over there is appearing. The moment you select appearing, your your fields for maximum marks obtained, and percentage are hidden. Actually, they are no longer mandatory to be filled. Please understand this. They are no longer mandatory to be filled. Legal knowledge or legal GK cancel. Yes, in this change, I don't see a provision for legal knowledge. Whatever it would be there, that would be based on the reasoning aspect itself. So I don't think legal knowledge will be there, but legal reasoning will be there, as they have clearly stated. Please understand, they have mentioned legal principles over there. The questions might have a different avatar. They might change a little bit, may not be a direct legal principle evident over there, but it will be there. Legal is not being ruled out. That is part now, that has now become part of the logical reasoning. I think you'll get a better understanding if you also see the 2020 CLAT paper. You'll understand if you look at the legal section, that would quite look at like a logical reasoning section. But of course, the questions are not going to be like CLAT paper passage driven actually. Otherwise, they would have definitely mentioned over there. Okay. The option to view the draft application is not being shown on the website. No, they don't have. Either you submit or you delete. That's the only provision they have made. So you have to be very careful. And if you realize some mistakes have been there, please delete the application and refill it once again. That's very, very important. Okay. So I think that would be all. Safe score to get admitted into an LU Delhi, 150 out of 150. You are definitely safe. Nobody can challenge you. I hope you understand. इससे सेफ कुछ नहीं हो सकता है ना. You get 150, you are definitely there. Nobody can challenge you. In the present scheme of things, mathematics is not there. There are only 3 sections. Please, I started with that. I'm sure you are attentive. And at the same time, you have done a video explaining the changes. Actually, you can definitely have a look on that actually. So if my mom is a housewife, shall we leave the mother's address section blank? You can't leave it. They are all mandatory, my dear friend. Everything is mandatory when it comes to family details, even when it comes to the family income. Now you can select nil from there, from the drop down, or you can select the range of the income when it comes to your mom and dad's earning. But even if your mom is a housewife, you still have to mention. So what will you will mention in terms of office address? You will just mention your address, or you just give a short address of yours. But when it comes to mobile number and email ID, that is definitely mandatory. So each of the fields, when it comes to the details about parents, they are mandatory. You have to fill it. You can't leave blank. Even the address, you can't leave blank. Yes, we do it for our students. Definitely, we have AILET mocks for our student, and definitely, in fact, we did one this week, and now the upcoming mocks will get changed to the new pattern. You don't need to even worry about that. The upcoming mocks will get tuned into the new pattern, and you'll have the new pattern mocks only coming for AILET. So that was all about AILET application form. I'm sure it's going to be an easy process for you. We'll come back with other applications, SLAT and MSCET for sure, as and when they are released. But right now, it is just CLAT. If you have not filled the CLAT form, do watch out our video on the CLAT application process before you go ahead and fill the application form. That's a little bit complicated. And you have to be really, really careful because the form is about 4,000 rupees. So please be a little bit careful. I suggest please watch the video before go ahead and filling the forms. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.